I'm 28, work in a small IT firm in the suburbs, and I've always considered myself cautious but not paranoid. Halloween has never been a big deal in my family. Just a few pumpkins, maybe some candy for the kids who come by. But last year, something happened that I still can't shake, and it all started on a quiet October evening. I had finished work around 6, leaving the office later than usual because of a server issue. The streets were mostly empty, kids had already trick-or-treated hours ago, and most neighbors were indoors. I live in a typical suburban neighborhood. One-story houses, neat lawns, street lights spaced evenly along the pavement. Nothing about it is exciting or particularly creepy, which is why what happened sticks with me. That night I was tired but wanted to grab a few things from the convenience store a few blocks away. I told myself it was just a routine errand, the kind I've done countless times. My apartment was on the corner of a quiet street, and the walk to the store was short, maybe 7 minutes. I remember locking my door carefully behind me, pocketing my keys, and noticing the crisp smell of fall leaves mixed with the faint scent of smoke from someone's fireplace. Everything seemed ordinary. Too ordinary, I guess, looking back. As I walked, I listened to my headphones, a soft playlist of acoustic songs, and tried not to think too much about work. Halloween decorations flickered on porches, jack-o'-lanterns grinning in orange light, and I smiled at the thought of kids running around with their costumes. I had no reason to suspect that anything about this night would be unusual. And yet, that mundanity is exactly what made it so strange later. I stepped off the curb and onto the sidewalk, glancing at the few scattered leaves tumbling in the wind. A couple of kids in costumes ran past, giggling, their parents chasing behind them. I nodded at the father, and he smiled politely. Nothing out of the ordinary. The store was about 3 blocks down, a small place with fluorescent lights that buzzed softly. I pushed the door open and felt the familiar clang of the bell above me. I grabbed a shopping basket and started down the aisles. Milk, bread, some Halloween candy for my niece who lived a few blocks away. I noticed a man standing near the magazine rack wearing a dark hoodie, looking at the horror movie section. At first, I didn't think much of it. It's Halloween. Of course, people are browsing scary movies. The cashier was an older woman, Mrs. Donnelly, who always asked about my day. We exchanged a few polite words and I paid for my items. The store felt unusually quiet for Halloween night, but again, I brushed it off. I walked back outside, bag in hand, taking my usual route home along the sidewalks lined with dim streetlights. The wind had picked up slightly, rustling the leaves in irregular patterns. I passed a few neighbors' houses, their windows glowing warm and safe inside. I felt calm, almost lulled by the repetitive rhythm of my footsteps. Nothing about the night screamed danger. My phone buzzed once, a notification from work, but I ignored it. The street was empty except for me and the occasional stray cat. I noticed a shadow near the corner of my street, but in the dim light, it could have been anything. A bush, a pile of leaves. I didn't linger. I crossed the street, telling myself I was being paranoid. The familiarity of the route, the normality of my routine, and the soft hum of the night all made me feel safe. I even thought about how rare it was to see my street this quiet and peaceful. It felt almost cinematic, like something out of a movie, and I found myself appreciating the silence before winter fully arrived. That's when I noticed him, a figure standing near my neighbor's driveway. At first, I assumed it was someone taking their trash out or checking a car. But as I got closer, I realized he wasn't moving like anyone normal would. He was just standing there, perfectly still, facing my direction. I slowed down, trying to look casual, telling myself I was imagining things. Maybe it was a reflection from a window, or maybe he was just looking at the moon, or a Halloween decoration. My rational mind tried to explain it away. But then, he took a step forward. Not a big stride, almost a shuffle. And I noticed the hoodie obscuring his face, shadows hiding his features. He didn't wave, didn't acknowledge me, just moved in the same slow, calculated way. My stomach tightened, a low hum of unease I couldn't ignore. I considered crossing the street, walking faster, or even turning back. But I told myself I was overreacting. People stand outside. Maybe he was smoking a cigarette, maybe waiting for someone. I kept walking, my hands gripping the plastic handles of my bag, and tried to focus on the sound of my shoes against the pavement. Every few steps, I caught a glimpse of him from the corner of my eye. Always moving, always keeping pace. Never too close, never too far. I could feel my heartbeat increasing, but I forced myself to breathe steadily. Rationally, I knew I wasn't in immediate danger. But there was something deliberate in the way he followed my pace, a quiet patience that didn't belong to ordinary strangers. I picked up my pace, my bag swinging slightly at my side. The wind rustled louder through the trees, and for the first time, I noticed that no other houses had lights on outside. Every porch seemed empty. The man mirrored my movements. When I slowed to step over a fallen branch, he slowed. When I sped up to cross a dark patch of the sidewalk, he sped up, maintaining that same unnerving distance. Panic started to creep in. I considered darting across a neighbor's yard or slipping into a side street, but my path home had only one direct route. I could see my apartment building ahead, the comforting glow of the entryway. I told myself, just keep walking, he'll leave. But he didn't. I felt a cold sweat on my back as I approached the final block. Every shadow seemed heavier. Leaves skittered across the sidewalk like tiny warnings. I ducked my head, quickened my steps, and tried to act like I was on a phone call, even though my hands were empty. Then I heard it. The faintest sound of footsteps matching mine. Behind me. Not just on the pavement, but in rhythm with my steps. I didn't dare turn my head. I passed a street lamp and caught a glimpse of him out of the corner of my eye. Hooded, nondescript, faceless in the dim light. He was close now. Closer than anyone should be without purpose. I reached the side of my building and fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking. I could feel his presence, the weight of it pressing through the night air. I unlocked the door and slipped inside, heart hammering, and heard nothing for a moment. I glanced back through the glass panel of the door. The sidewalk was empty, just my reflection staring back at me. I thought I was safe. I thought the moment had passed. I dropped my bag on the floor and leaned against the door, trying to calm down. That's when I heard it. A soft knock. One knock. On the glass. I froze. Hello? My voice was steadier than I felt. No answer. Another knock, slightly louder. I backed away, my eyes scanning the lobby. There was a man outside, hands pressed against the glass. His hoodie pulled low, shadowing his face. I could see the outline of his shoulders, the curve of his neck, but no features. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe a neighbor, maybe someone lost. I shook my head. Nobody knocks like that in my building. Not at night. I reached for my phone to call the police. My fingers fumbled, adrenaline making them clumsy. He tapped again, more insistent this time. I could see the slight movement. Maybe a foot shifting, a head tilting. He was studying me. I whispered, "Go away. Please, just leave." No response. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but the lobby door was the only way out. I took a step back toward the stairwell, phone clutched tightly. He pressed his forehead to the glass just for a moment, and then stepped back. And then, slowly, he turned and walked away. Just like that, without a sound, without a trace. I didn't breathe until I was inside my apartment, deadbolt locked, blinds drawn. I called the police, told them what happened. They asked the usual questions, typed up a report, and said there wasn't much they could do. No weapon, no crime, just someone loitering. The rest of the night, I didn't sleep. Every sound, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the radiator, even the wind against the windows, made me tense. I double-checked my locks, peeked out windows, and eventually, hours later, fell into a restless doze. I kept my curtains drawn for weeks, and I avoided walking anywhere at night. Every street corner, every shadow, made me flinch. Even now, months later, the memory of that night makes my stomach turn. I can't explain why he followed me or why he knocked. I don't know if he lives nearby, if he watches the neighborhood, or if it was just random. There was no motive, no message, nothing to understand. Even my friends, when I tell them, say I'm overreacting. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And it changes you. Knowing that someone could be outside, silently observing. And you would have no way to stop them. It's been almost a year since that Halloween night. I still live in the same apartment, still walk the same streets, but I never feel truly at ease. The world feels just a little quieter, the shadows a little heavier. Sometimes, when I'm leaving for work or taking out the trash, I catch a movement at the corner of my eye. A hood, a figure, always just out of focus, and my stomach twists the same way it did that night. I never saw him again after that night. No calls, no notes, no further encounters. But sometimes when I glance out my window late at night, I wonder if he's still there, somewhere just beyond the streetlight, waiting. And I think, maybe that's all he wanted. Not to hurt me, just to be seen. Just to remind me that someone was there, watching. Halloween was never just another holiday for me again.